You do ADR. You've done ADR for Jeff Bridges and who else? You've done ADR for a bunch of folks, right?
Dude, so freaking many. I don't have a list in front of me. There's so freaking many. Current. I'll just do the
How
ones
do you get into
that are
that? How do you
current.
start doing
That
that?
one was that was a unique story. So, not every voice actor has a manager and an agent. Most of them just either have no agent or have an agent or agents.
Well, first
But
of all, and I
apparently,
told you this before, man, nobody gets a manager like it
yeah,
right. Like, I mean, you got one like right away, man.
within
There's
the
people
first
who've been
couple of years,
toiling
yeah.
for decades, like begging for management, and you're with the big ones.
Yeah,
Big
that's
one, you were
the
Cope.
weird thing for me is that I didn't know any better. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants pretty much my whole career, just learning as I went along. And sometimes I had to learn things the hard way, but I did learn. And I didn't know that it was uncommon for somebody to have a manager and be a voice actor. I just went along with what it's kind of like Yes Man, like Jim Carrey's movie. Any opportunity that I see that's positive that does not break my personal moral ethics, like I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'll give that a shot, you know. So yeah, it's just one of those things that kind of happened, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is how it happens for everybody. No, it does not. And so I was doing. She was trying me out. She was just giving me a shot because my first manager realized, and he'd done really well for me. I mean, I went from making, you know, poverty level income. Like that's what I was making. Like we were getting, you know, government help at some points just to be able to afford formula for our kids. And after my job went bankrupt and I started doing voiceover full time, we were all just kind of panicked. We were living with very little unemployment and a little bit of severance pay, and I cashed in what little 401k I had just to try to get by. But those first 2 years, with no primary source of income other than voiceover, were really really difficult. So my first manager realized. I
Well,
mean,
especially too because you were green, so you don't,
yeah, I didn't
half,
know any better.
yeah, half of you doesn't even know what the hell you're doing, man.
Yeah,
But you're
my
falling ass backwards into great stuff. You're booking right
but
away. You're getting
I didn't
management
know
right
I
away, and you're
was.
like, I told you,
Yeah,
man, you're gonna have actors ready to kill you, man. You got it like quick, boom, whoa,
you know,
nice.
I heard Jess Harnell's story is pretty much the same thing. He just walked into a room and didn't know who anybody was, had no idea how big these voice actors were. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm Jess. I'm just here to rock and roll, bro." You know, and they're just like, "Oh, he just didn't know." He just thought, "Yeah, you're here to do this too. All right, let's go." So I've kind of had that same like, I don't know what's going on, but everything's to be working out. So, like I said, it went from poverty levels to triple that, and that was like for us, I thought that was great. And
Triple poverty is good.
yeah, triple poverty is, you know, not poverty anymore. So I was okay with that. Poverty level, I think, is like less than 20 grand. So a year. So I was like, yeah, I'm not broke anymore. I don't have to use government cheese anymore. Yay. So, but I thought he was doing great, but he wasn't doing as well as he thought he could be doing because he was still running his own company. He's like, I know a manager and I know, and I'm going to get you an agent. I'm going to get you a manager. So he just started going down the list alphabetically, looking for people to work with me. And we started with, uh, some company in the A's, and then we worked our way down until we found my manager who got me my current agency, and then it was
So,
just kind
and
of one of
this
those
was
things where
this
she was just, oh,
this
go ahead.
dude that you're talking about. This is the one that you found from the dang MySpace pop up.
No, he found me on YouTube the same way that the Honest Trailers guy did from that video of me
Wow.
doing different movie genres. So it was just a random YouTube video, and he just spotted me. He got my kind of kick started my career past the point of just doing a couple of non-union commercials a month or so, and so he was like, well, this other manager that she's one of the best in the business, and she reps only you know, a couple of dozen people, and she's like, yeah, I'd be happy to give you a shot, and we'll give you a few months to and try you out. And within my first month or so, a commercial audition came down somehow for an Adam Sandler sounded like for Hotel Transylvania. And I'm like, she's like, can you sound like him? I was like, yeah, I can do that. So she gave me an audition, and I ended up booking like 53 spots, a McDonald's commercial, and then two trailers or something. So it was a lot. It was a whole freaking bunch. And she was like, yeah, I think we want to sign you. So at that
Yeah.
point, all of
I
a
know
sudden I
everyone's
started
always like,
getting
"How do you get a good with an agency and blah blah?" Earn.
book.
Yeah,
Yeah, make some money,
yeah,
book
man.
work.
Like
They'll
we don't.
really
I'm
like
not
that.
doing this for my health. Jesus.
So that kind of helped me get in with her, and then because of that one gig that I did book through her, it kind of just opened up the door for ADR auditions, which I had never gotten anything before. And even one of her former employees even told me before I came along they didn't do any ADR, and now it's become like a third of their business or something, and it's definitely a huge chunk of my business. And currently, because I can't remember them all. But currently, I'm right now filling in for Robert Downey Jr. for Dr. Dolittle stuff, and I'm filling in for Ryan Reynolds for, well, I was filling in for Ryan Reynolds for Detective Pikachu before it came out. And I'm also in the film as a separate additional voice, which is really cool. So I got a credit for that as well. And then I'm filling in for who's the other guy? Josh Gad for A Dog's Journey 2 or Dog's Purpose.
Wasn't he
whatever it is.
Olaf? Isn't it that guy?
He's also Olaf, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My daughter's like obsessed with Frozen, man. So I watched like a billion times. He did so good in that, man. He was a good
There's
character.
there's one other one I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's and then I'm doing trailers for an upcoming thing on either Discovery or History. So it's just like whatever they throw my way, I'm like, yeah, I think I give that a shot. I think I had to. They randomly just sent me Joseph Gordon-Levitt last night, and I'd never man, I don't think I've ever had to try to even sound like him before. So it's just I don't even know who I'm gonna get, and sometimes I don't even recognize the names, and I just have to listen to the vocal qualities. Sometimes looking them up helps, and sometimes it doesn't. So it's like when I don't know who they are, I'm like, maybe I should figure out who they are, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I know who that guy. But yeah, I filled in for.
Well, yeah, you know, it might be better if you don't
Murphy.
have that sound in your head, because the sound in your head
Maybe.
is very rarely what they actually sound like. You know, so if you
They
do
had this
have to look it
problem.
up and then start, you know, really, digging into the nuances, that I can imagine that makes it easier, actually.
Well, they have this one little problem of sending us references to the actor as themselves from like a talk show. And I'm like, do you have anything of them doing the character that they're performing in the movie or show? Because they're not going to sound like in an interview what they sound like in a movie or show. And I'm like, and I've lost several auditions because they did not have a good reference. And then when I heard the final version of what they were supposed to sound like, I'm like, well, that was nothing like what they sound like in a talk show. It's no wonder that I didn't get the job. So,
Tell
yeah,
people what this stuff is if they have no idea what we're talking about. What is this ADR? We've talked about it before on the channel, but what's the deal?
There's a couple of different ways to do ADR. It's very similar to dubbing. I've done some anime before, and it's some ADR is literally just like when you record for an animated series or cartoon, whatever, where you actually see what's going on the screen, and they actually have the beeps up, deet, 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 and then you have to say what fits in the flaps of the mouth, or if it's an off-camera voice, like Danny Trejo. That's the other one I've been filling in for. So when I was doing Danny Trejo, I was like doing it like, it was like not on camera. So it was like off in the background, like, come on, get to the chopper. And it's just like, you can't tell that that's not him in the context of the film once they add in the sound effects, once they add in the ambient background. There's multiple layers of sound. So it could be done that way.
just to hide if you suck.
Well, that too, because sometimes these low budget films, they can't afford to get the actor to do it themselves, or, they can't afford a full rate. So they'll just find somebody non-union that does a decent sound alike, or sometimes they'll just do it themselves. I believe.
Well, I mean, that's normally why they do ADRs, because everything's wrapped, and then they bring the principals back in, and they fix this and that, but then they find other stuff that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
But then these guys are making $18 zillion, and you're only making, a quarter zillion. So
yeah, I went into Legendary probably 14 to 17 times for Detective Pikachu, and once at Warner Brothers. And Ryan Reynolds went in once. So there's the reason, because if they had to pay him 17 times, it would probably rack up. Plus, he's freaking crazy busy. Some of these actors just can't break away. And if they do have to record it, they don't want to do it from their car where it sounds terrible. And if they do, it sounds terrible. And the other option is for them to Frankenstein up the lines to make it make sense in the context of the trailer. So a lot of what I get usually is a very quick turnaround time where it's like, hey, we got this trailer. We need to sound alike for this guy. Or we need to scratch the voice for this guy before we actually hire the actual actor to come in and record their own voice for it. So it's a lot cheaper to get me to do it, and I'm more available, and I can do it 10, 15 times till they have what they want. And then they can go to Ryan Reynolds or whoever it is and have him do it himself. But luckily for me, I wore my brown pants, so it's fine. Everything's good.
yeah, it's good to be the king.